Barbie of Swan Lake. Enchanted forest. Odette the girl. Enter a magic world. Swan princess by day, girl by night. Mystic power. Wings alight. Break the spell. Your prince has come. True love transforms everyone. From her newest movie, Barbie of Swan Lake. Dolls and unicorn carriage, each sold separately.
Hello doll fans and welcome back to Beauty Inside a Box. Today we are doing a deep dive video all about the classic Barbie movie, bling! Barbie of Swan Lake. I absolutely love the aesthetic of this film. It's so whimsical and nostalgic. This has become a series of videos on my channel where I deep dive into different Barbie movies and talk about their history, their production, their release, and of course the film itself. And also, of course, the dolls. So if you want to watch the other videos in this series, I'll put a link on the screen to the Barbie movie deep dive playlist, and I'll also put a link in the description. And if you love dolls as much as I do, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, check me out on Instagram and TikTok, and also consider supporting me on Patreon. I have loads of exclusive videos on my Patreon, and your financial support would aid me in being able to dedicate more time to making more videos. Supporting me starts from just $3 and I'd really appreciate it. Now let's talk about Barbie of Swan Lake. Barbie of Swan Lake was actually the first Barbie movie I didn't watch as a child when it was released. I was getting close to starting secondary school and I was going through a phase where I was trying to stop collecting dolls and be more mature, you know. So I tried to ignore this Barbie movie at all costs. Anyway, the first thing I think we should talk about is before Barbie of Swan Lake. Swan Lake was a ballet written by Tchaikovsky. It was first performed in 1877 and the story was based on Russian and German folktales. The initial reception of the ballet was lukewarm, but it has now become one of the most commonly performed ballets of all time. The original story of Swan Lake is very, very different to the Barbie movie. The original story is a tragic love story of Prince Siegfried and Odette. Odette is a beautiful princess who has been transformed into a swan by an evil sorcerer called Rothbart. By day, Odette and her companions are swans, and only by night do they turn into humans. The spell can only be broken if someone who has never loved before swears their eternal love to Odette. At a royal ball, Siegfried is tricked by Rothbart and his daughter Odile, the Black Swan, who appears identical to Odette. Believing Odile is his true love, Siegfried declares his love to her, thus breaking his vow to Odette. Realizing his mistake, he rushes to the lake to beg Odette's forgiveness. In the tragic finale, Siegfried and Odette both decide to themselves, but after that, their love and their commitment to each other defeats Rothbart's power. The rest of the swans are freed from the curse, and their spirits ascend to heaven together. Obviously, the Barbie version is extremely, extremely different. For starters, it's obviously no longer a tragedy. But Barbie of Swan Lake in 2003 wouldn't be the first time Barbie would become Odette. The first time would be in 1991 as part of the musical Ballerina series. Then again in 1997 as part of the classic ballet series. Then again in 2001, also as part of the classic ballet series. Production of Barbie of Swan Lake. Barbie of Swan Lake was announced by Mainframe Entertainment in September 2002, which was a month before Barbie as Rapunzel was released. This is the third Barbie movie in the original trilogy, and also the third to be directed by Owen Hurley. And this would be his last Barbie movie until he directed Barbie in the Pink Shoes in 2013. They probably chose him to return as director for Barbie in the Pink Shoes because that film references the Nutcracker and Swan Lake, I think. So that's kind of like a full circle moment. The film was written by the same people that wrote Barbie as Rapunzel, Alana Lesser and Cliff Ruby. It also, interestingly, is exactly the same length as Barbie as Rapunzel at 83 minutes long. The ballet sequences were performed by the New York Ballet and choreographed by their chief, Peter Martin, similar to the Barbie and the Nutcracker film. They recorded the dancers over 2 days using motion capture technology to transform their movements into animation. I have to say, the dance sequences look a lot better in this film than they did in Barbie and the Nutcracker. In Barbie and the Nutcracker, their faces look a bit lifeless while they're dancing. In Barbie and Swan Lake, they look a little bit more alive while dancing. Principal dancer Maria Churovsky performed as Barbie for the dance sequences. She also performed as Barbie for Barbie in the Nutcracker. Interestingly, she had also performed in the Nutcracker and Swan Lake on stage in New York. Imagine going to see Swan Lake on stage and knowing that the person dancing is Barbie in Barbie and Swan Lake. The music in the film was performed by the London Symphony Orchestra and recorded at Abbey Road Studios. While I was researching the production of the film, I also found some very interesting images of some character designs for the film. Unfortunately, I don't have any of Odette, but I do have one for the Queen. It looks like she was originally going to have a much bigger ball gown design, and then it looks like they revised her design to make her dress slightly smaller. I also found some designs of the troll. These are very cute. And this person who did these designs actually worked at Disney and did some of the designs for Anna and Elsa, interestingly enough. I think the most interesting character variant sheet is this Odile one, where we see some of the different ideas there were for her costume. It also shows that she was originally going to have like two-tone hair. It looks like her hair was going to be a lighter colour at the top and then darker at the bottom, which is very interesting. They also thought about giving her a cape, which I thought was quite interesting. This dress at the bottom of the sheet here looks a lot more like what she ends up wearing in the film. I also saw that apparently Odile's design, and especially her hair, were inspired by Cyndi Lauper, which I think was very interesting. And you can definitely see it here. Like, the hair definitely does look quite like Cyndi Lauper. The film itself. Barbie of Swan Lake begins with Barbie telling her little sister Kelly a story one night at a summer camp to encourage her to believe in herself.
What's wrong, Shelley?
I can't sleep.
I remember my first sleepaway camp. It takes a day or two to get used to things.
The story is about Odette, a kind and gentle village girl who works for her father's bakery. This is probably the first major difference between the Barbie movie and the ballet. Odette is no longer a princess from birth. She's just a humble baker's daughter. Barbie's arc in this story is mostly about believing in herself and finding her bravery and her confidence, which, is obviously a great lesson for any kid to learn. One day, she follows a magical unicorn named Lila into an enchanted forest, where she discovers a hidden wood full of fairies and mythical creatures. One of the highlights of this film is the setting of the enchanted forest. It looks absolutely beautiful, and I'm sure anyone watching the film would love to explore that environment. I found some concept art online from the production of the film, and you can see a lot of work went into making the forest as whimsical and enchanting as possible. The animation in general in this film has good moments and it has bad moments. It still kind of looks like a video game cutscene, similar to the first two Barbie movies. The animated models for Barbie and Daniel look pretty good, but I think the fairy of the forest looks a bit strange and uncanny. Sadly, none of the characters have very much facial articulation as well. Like, they're not very expressive, these animated models. That's definitely something that the Barbie movies would improve on over time. The forest Odette finds is beautiful, but it is under the dark control of Rothbart, an evil sorcerer who wants to rule the forest entirely. When Odette tries to help Lila, Rothbart catches her and casts a spell on her, turning her into a swan. Rothbart's daughter Odile is watching and enjoying the mischief. Luckily, the Fairy Queen reverses part of the spell, allowing Odette to become a human at night, but she will remain a swan during the day.
Once the sun rises tomorrow,
I'll be a swan again. I have to find a way to break this spell.
The other woodland creatures also turn into humans at night. This gives Kelly and her friends roles in the movie, and, you know, also dolls, of course. Sadly, the roles for Kelly and her friends are, I think, the worst part of this film. They all have, like, weird adult voices, even though they obviously look like children, and I find it really creepy and off-putting. I hate it.
Thanking you for helping us from the hearts of our bottoms.
The bottom of our hearts, Ivan.
They're also all doing, like, bad accents as well. It's just so bad. I really, really, really don't like it. I wish they'd got actual children to do the voices for these characters, or at least get adults that could sound like children. It's really distracting. The Fairy Queen reveals that Odette has found the Crystal of the Forest, a magical gem that holds the power to defeat Rothbart. Then Odette has to go and find the Book of Forest Lore, which is kept by an ogre. This part of the story I also find kind of pointless. Like, she has to go and find this book, and then when she finds the book, it tells her that the only way to break the spell is true love. I kind of wish one of the characters could have just known that, instead of, like, them having to go and get this book. It kind of feels a bit pointless, that bit. But it does introduce the ogre, who is quite a fun character. And also, his, like, grotto, his lair, is an interesting location for the film. Fun fact, the Nutcracker from the original Barbie movie actually appears briefly in the background behind the troll as a little kind of hidden Easter egg. The Nutcracker appears in all of the Barbie movies, well, most of them. Later, Prince Daniel, a handsome and adventurous royal, finds Odette and nearly hunts her down, thinking that she is a swan, but just in time she transforms into a human. I find it interesting that they changed the prince's name from Siegfried to Daniel. It's probably to make it sound a bit more American. They quickly fall in love, but Odette must return to the forest before sunrise to avoid being trapped as a swan forever. While the prince and Odette are falling in love, we get one of our first dance sequences, which I have to say, I just don't like the dance sequences. I find them a bit boring and they go on for a bit too long. Even though the dancing is very impressive, I think they could have made these scenes a little bit more dynamic. Although, as I said before, the animation on the dancing has definitely improved from the Nutcracker. One thing I find quite frustrating about this movie is there are big gaps in the dialogue where there's no one speaking and no music. It's kind of weird and awkward.
I haven't seen very much, but I could show you Swan Lake.
After Daniel has left, they find the Book of Forest Lore and they learn that true love can break the spell. So Odette plans to go to the ball, which Daniel is hosting, so he can declare his love to her. Meanwhile, Rothbart and Odile plot to trick Daniel into declaring his love to the wrong woman. At the ball, Odile disguises herself as Odette using dark magic. Daniel is deceived and unknowingly breaks his vow of true love by confessing his love to Odile.
Rothbart. Where is Odette?
Who cares? You've already pledged your love to my daughter!
I love how dramatic Odette is in this moment when she, like, falls to the floor. Odette watches this happen, so heartbroken, she returns to the forest, where Rothbart's powers grow stronger, and he captures the Fairy Queen. Odette confronts him with bravery, and Daniel arrives just in time to help her. I love the climax of this movie, because Barbie gets to wear her ball gown the whole time, and I just find that really fun when she's, like, running around in her ball gown. At one moment, Rothbart zaps Odette and Daniel, and it appears for a moment that they have been defeated. When Odette is struck by Rothbart's spell, the music that's playing in the background is the music which normally is playing in the ballet when the characters are... So I thought that was kind of interesting. Also, Daniel and Odette's love breaks the curse and diminishes his powers. In the end, peace returns to the Enchanted Forest. Odette and Daniel are reunited, and Barbie concludes the story by reminding Kelly and the audience that true courage comes from believing in yourself. As with the past two Barbie movies, there is a quote from Barbie at the end of the credits. This time it says, "You're braver than you think," which I think is very sweet. A song called Wings plays over the credits at the end, and it is not a very good song. It's not as good as the song from the credits in Barbie as Rapunzel, that's for sure. Interestingly, in the film, Barbie wears 3 different versions of the dress the doll wears. A short ballet version, a longer ball gown version, and a version which has wings. Interestingly, she has her hair in an updo at the end of the film, and I wonder if Mattel ever thought about giving the doll an updo, because the doll has, like, her hair down. I wonder. Overall, I think this movie is brilliant and whimsical and enchanting. I miss when Barbies had this, like, really beautiful, dreamy fairy tale aesthetic. There are some points in the film where I think the plot may get a little bit too complicated, and there's loads of different rules and loads of exposition about how the magic works in the forest and stuff like that. I kind of wish they'd simplified some of that. I guess it is quite nice that the film doesn't really talk down to their audience, and they're not afraid to give it a slightly more complicated plot, hoping that the kids will be able to keep up with it. The cast of Barbie of Swan Lake. Kelly Sheridan voices Barbie, and I've spoke about her in the previous 2 videos in this series, so I won't go into too much detail, but I really think she is perfect for the voice of Barbie.
There must be some secret to stopping Rothbart.
She's able to sound youthful and innocent while also sounding, like, confident and self-assured. She has a very, like, whimsical Disney princess kind of voice, you know what I mean? Which I just love to listen to. Here's a clip of her talking about how she was originally cast as Barbie.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. I mean, over a decade. It's 15 years of playing a pretty iconic role.
Absolutely.
I was in university at the time, and there was this call that came up for Barbie, and they auditioned people here, I believe in Toronto, New York, and LA, I think were the 4 cities they were auditioning actresses. Actually, at first they didn't want to see me.
Oh, wow.
My agent really had to fight for them to, because the casting director wasn't familiar with me. And so my agent, at the time, to her credit, really, really pushed for them to bring me in, which they did. And I went and auditioned. And then, like any audition as an actor, you develop the skill where you just forget about it as soon as the audition's done. And I was doing a play at the time, and I got a call back for Barbie, and it was on the day of a performance. And I said, I can't go to the callback. I have a show. I can't let down everyone who's bought a ticket and all of my castmates. I can't leave for an audition. And they said, well, what do you want us to do? And I said, I guess you're just going to have to listen to my first audition and count that as my callback. And I thought, well, there's no way I'm going to get it now. There's no way.
Wow.
And I guess maybe it's a good thing that I didn't go into the callback, because I got we got the call shortly after saying, yeah, we'd like her to come in and play the role.
Holy cow, what a story.
Yeah, I know. And even that first day of recording, I thought, oh, they're going to send me home. You know what I mean? They haven't really put me through my paces. What if I can't actually do this? It was such a huge deal. They flew Tim Curry up. It was this, they had Andrea Romano, who's a brilliant voiceover director, just prolific, directed Animaniacs and a million other things.
Yeah.
As the voice director, and all the producers and clients were there. Anyways, I somehow made it through the first day, and they kept calling me back to play her in subsequent movies. So I guess it was lucky that I didn't have to go in for the callback.
Mark Hildreth plays Ken as Prince Daniel. It's his second time playing Ken after Barbie as Rapunzel. Barbie of Swan Lake follows the tradition of previous Barbie movies of casting a famous actor for the role of the villain. In this film, Kelsey Grammer plays Rothbart, and he actually does a really good job as the villain. He is really giving this role his all, it feels like. He makes a great villain.
Not a bad deal, 2 for 1! At last! This world is mine!
And Maggie Wheeler plays Odile. Maggie Wheeler is the voice of Odile, and she also voices Janice. Well, she plays Janice in Friends, and she does a great job at that whiny, kind of annoying sidekick character voice.
Anytime!
But I do think sometimes her voice is like a little bit too annoying. Like it kind of lacks nuance. It's always at this kind of shrill, like high-pitched volume. You know, I find it a bit too annoying, but maybe that's just me. The release of Barbie of Swan Lake. Similar to other Barbie movies, a teaser trailer was released for Barbie of Swan Lake, which features animation which doesn't actually appear in the movie anywhere. I always find this interesting. I wonder if this is like test animation, or maybe the film wasn't finished, so they made this animation to kind of be a little taster.
Sure to be a blockbuster hit with audiences around the world, the Barbie of Swan Lake movie and world of toys and licensed products will inspire children's imaginations.
They also released a longer trailer which features clips from the film with the music from Swan Lake over the top of it. There isn't actually any dialogue or any speaking whatsoever in this trailer, which is interesting. And then there were more traditional trailers which had clips from the movie as well as a voiceover, you know, from a guy like being like, coming this fall, you know. A commercial which combines clips from the film as well as footage of the dolls was also released. I remember thinking this commercial seemed really whimsical and cinematic when I was a kid, because it also features shots of real girls dancing and frolicking around a real lake. It just felt like a kind of step up from their usual commercials, which are clearly all filmed in a studio. And there were like real swans in the trailer as well. It felt like Barbie got a budget for this commercial. The world premiere event was held on the 13th of September at the Forum Theatre in Melbourne, Australia, which is interesting and unusual that they held it in Australia. The film wasn't even animated in Australia, it was animated in Canada. Costume characters of Barbie and Leela the Unicorn were present to host the event and meet guests. I love how Leela has to wear a name tag, because otherwise she sort of just looks like a generic unicorn. Jason Donovan was at the event. Barbie of Swan Lake was released on VHS and DVD on September 30th, 2003. Later on, it had its television premiere on Nickelodeon on November 16th, 2003. I find it so interesting how different the Barbie of Swan Lake trailer is on Nickelodeon. Obviously, Nickelodeon is a channel aimed at both girls and boys, so they try and play up the danger and action element of the film to appeal to boys as well as girls. Here's the original trailer.
Barbie and her adorable new friends discover that true love transforms everyone.
And here's the Nickelodeon trailer.
Only the power of the magic crystal can protect her now. But danger draws closer, for there is another who seeks the crystal, the evil wizard Rothbart.
And Barbie of Swan Lake could definitely be considered a hit for the Barbie direct-to-video line of films, especially outside of North America. Barbie of Swan Lake sold over 2 million home entertainment units worldwide. It was especially popular in the UK, where it sold 400,000 units. Impressive numbers, but it didn't quite reach the same success as Barbie in the Nutcracker, which sold 3.4 million units just a couple years earlier. TV broadcasting rights to the film were sold in 90 different countries. The Washington Times praised the film, calling it beautiful and a triumph for Barbie that should inspire youngsters. The South Florida Sun-Sentinel said the film has all the elements of a good fairy tale that are delightfully translated here visually in this comforting, entertaining, and engaging presentation. The Los Angeles Times said the lavishly detailed computer-animated feature, whose creativity and sweet nature nearly mitigates its unavoidable product promotion. The New York Observer said the divergences from the ballet are profoundly distorting. Nothing of the troubling heart of Swan Lake remains. Instead, we get a frisky feminist unicorn and an adorable skunk. To call this Disneyfication is an insult to the genius of early Disney and the professionalism of late Disney. So they didn't love the film. The Sun-Telegraph said in a retrospective review in 2021 that the 2003 animation looks a bit dated now, but it can still capture the imagination. I definitely think that's true. I don't think people thought the animation looked particularly great even in 2003. At the Video Premiere Awards, it was nominated for Best Animated Video Premiere, but it lost to Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. And I think Hunchback of Notre Dame 2 is rubbish, so that's not very good. Barbie and the Nutcracker had won that award 2 years earlier. The film currently has a respectable 61% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.5 on IMDb, putting it at basically the same level of quality as the other Barbie movies that came before it. I just want to say that you can see that Barbie as Rapunzel is slightly higher rated than the other two, and I just wanted to say that I agree with that. I think Barbie as Rapunzel is my favourite of the Barbie movies, especially of the original three. DVD bonus features. Unfortunately, unlike Barbie and the Nutcracker, this film's DVD doesn't have any behind-the-scenes featurettes, which is a shame. It did have a video called The Ballet Dances of Barbie in Swan Lake, in which you can watch clips of the ballet dancing scenes from the film, where Barbie explains in a voiceover over the top the different ballet moves and the techniques.
Now here comes a move called a glissade, which means a little step to the side. Here it is. Glissade, glissade.
There was also a featurette called The Music in Me, which was a 25-minute documentary in which we follow 5 young female musicians as they talk about their instruments, their lives, and their experiences. It's a really, really sweet documentary. I actually really enjoyed it. The first 4 musicians are studying at Juilliard in New York, and the last one we follow is called Nicole, and we get to see her going to Abbey Road Studios to record a violin solo for the Barbie of Swan Lake with the London Symphony Orchestra. She was only 15 years old at the time, so that's quite impressive.
The music of Swan Lake is extremely dramatic. It's the kind of music that can make you cry. I mean, it's obviously a tragic story. So it's very emotional, and I feel that when I'm playing the music of Swan Lake.
There's a really nice moment at the end of the documentary where all the girls we've been following come together and play the music from Swan Lake as a group. That's kind of the closest we get to behind-the-scenes footage on the DVD bonus features. This documentary was similar to the Artist in Me featurette from the Barbie as Rapunzel DVD, but I actually think The Music in Me is a better documentary because it showcases how social music can be. You know, being an artist can be quite, insular. You're kind of on your own a lot. The Barbie films that were based on ballets were heavily marketed as educational and cultural for kids because of their inclusion of classical music and ballet. And I think these featurettes kind of feed into that, trying to prove to parents that Barbie can actually be enriching. There was also an Explore the Stars interactive game in which viewers are challenged to identify constellations. The Dolls of Barbie of Swan Lake. The moment you've all been waiting for, now we're going to talk about the dolls of Barbie of Swan Lake. And honestly, I love the dolls for this film. The dolls were first showcased at the New York Toy Fair in February 2003. Of course, Barbie was the main doll, and I love the box for this doll. Again, so whimsical. The artwork, the background, everything, just chef's kiss. And I have to say, I think Barbie as Odette is my favourite Barbie movie doll of all time. I just think she's so beautiful. So obviously the main feature of this doll is her wings. They're kind of connected on the back here. You click this thing and they pop up. Oh, they're so cool. And they used to light up, and I think they also made noise. Did they make noise? I can't remember. They used to light up, but they don't work anymore. Maybe I could try and change the batteries, but yeah. And just look at her. She's so stunning. I love this crown. Her hair is so soft. The facial screening is absolutely beautiful. The wings are stunning. The details on the dress are beautiful. I love all these kind of panels that look like feathers, I guess. The colour is also incredible. And this necklace is beautiful. I love her dainty arms. Interestingly, she has the slightly older Barbie body mold instead of the newer one with the belly button. But I think it really suits this dress style. The bottom part has so much volume. I love it. And she has pearly ballerina shoes. She is by far my favourite Barbie movie doll. I just love her. Interestingly, in her prototype images, her crown is a little bit different, a slightly different shape. I saw someone on Reddit say that her dress looked to be inspired by the Chanel Spring 1988 collection. Although, to be honest, I think that's probably just a coincidence. There was, of course, also an African-American version of Barbie. A Ken as Prince Daniel doll was also released. And I, of course, have him here. He's very cute. Just a kind of standard Prince Ken, but again, I love the colours here. All the little details with the ribbons, very cute. I hate these boots they always give the Ken dolls, but, you know, still cute. And he came with a plastic swan, Odette the Swan figure. Very cute. There was, of course, also an African-American version of Ken released. A Teresa as the Fairy of the Forest doll was also released. I have her here. She's extremely whimsical. It's giving, like, Midsummer Night's Dream. I love her little wand. Very cute. Unfortunately, my one's finger fell off, which I'm really sad about. If anyone knows how to, like, reattach a new arm, I might try and do that. But these flowers are really cute. The way they've styled her hair, her crown. It's also, like, ethereal. I'm obsessed. She's beautiful. Interestingly, though, she's obviously Teresa, but in the film, I don't think the Fairy Queen looks anything like Teresa. In all honesty, I think she looks a lot older. There were also 6 Kelly dolls released, with them playing woodland characters. And these dolls are really cute, and I love the little animal costumes. They're very adorable. There was Kelly as the baby swan, Maria as Carlotta the skunk, Tommy as Ivan the porcupine, Marissa as the friendly fawn, Liana as feisty fox, and Kirsty as Merry Mouse. They also released African-American versions of Kelly and Tommy, but none of the other characters. There was also a my-size Odette doll released and an African-American version. A beautiful fashion pack was released with 2 of Odette's other outfits she wears in the film. Another version of this fashion pack was released a bit later, but one of the dresses was replaced with a wedding dress. There were several soft plush toys released of Leela the unicorn, Odette as a swan, Carlita the skunk, and Ivan the porcupine. I actually think the porcupine one looks kind of scary and creepy. I don't know why, I just really didn't like this one. There was also a smaller set released with 3 of her animal friends. There was also an Odette styling head and an AA version, which I actually think looks quite whitewashed. There was a Leela the Unicorn and carriage set. Love that the carriage has swans on it. Iconic. There was an Enchanted Forest playset, which is actually the set I remember my cousin having. Really cute. There's actually a really cute scene in the film where they have a date in the forest, and it kind of looks like this. I love the colour scheme. The colour scheme for all of these sets and all of these dolls is incredible. There was a small Enchanted Castle playset, which kind of looks like Barbie's Bed and Bath, if you remember that playset. And there was a larger magical fantasy castle playset, which is incredible. This was the first time a Barbie movie got a dream house style, like super large playset like this. And I actually have this playset and I love it. I filmed a whole unboxing on my channel, so you can watch that later, but I'll show you a couple clips here. Barbie musical fantasy castle. I am so excited. Oh my goodness. Oh my, wow. This is so exciting. Oh my, wow. Oh my god. Can I just say, young Joey, little Joey, when I was a kid, I would have absolutely died for this castle. Putting this together took me nearly an hour. In fact, I think it took me over an hour. But now, looking at it in all its glory, it's really exciting. It reminds me of the Disneyland castle at Disneyland Paris. But yeah, using the dove, you can turn it and then you can open the front door, which is really cool. And I've obviously stuck all the stickers on the outside. Now, if I open the castle, there's also a little lock here. I've obviously set up everything and wow, I absolutely love it. The color scheme is so cute. I'm gonna give you guys a little look around. Here is Barbie stood on the stairs. I feel like she needs to be like, hey MTV, welcome to my cribs, let me show you around. There's a little seating area here, really cute. I can't get over how big this castle is. It's just, there's so much room and space. Here is the little dining room table. Then if we come down here, there's a little kind of throne room area. And this bed appears here. This is obviously, I think, a bed for Teresa. Here is the magic harp. Super cool. And if you twist the dove, it actually plays music. Here is Ken, obviously sat on the throne. I've stuck loads of stickers onto the mantelpiece, onto the fireplace. Here is the bathroom. Again, there are loads of stickers everywhere. I love this beautiful bathtub. Here is a big, gorgeous mirror with the Barbie emblem on the top. And if we pull it down, it reveals Barbie's amazing bed. Then over here, I'm not really sure what you're meant to put here, but this is the cage where the birds are meant to live when they're not doing their secret surprise. This castle also appeared in a retrospective video that was made especially for Barbie's 50th anniversary. I remember watching that video so many times. Interestingly, a couple Barbie sticker books and picture books show images of a Rothbart doll and an Odile doll. I've seen fans online speculate that the Odile doll was actually a prototype considered to be produced, but it was cancelled. I would have loved to see this doll produced, since it would be the first time we got kind of like an evil version of Barbie. But personally, I think this doll was just made for the picture books, and I think it's wishful thinking that it was like an actual prototype. There was also a PC game released. The Legacy of Barbie of Swan Lake. Odette didn't have to wait very long until new dolls were released of her. In 2004, Mattel started marketing the Barbie films together, similar to the Disney Princess line. The first line of dolls was called the Fantasy Tales collection, and Odette was included in the line, and the doll came with a plush version of herself as a swan. Also released in 2004 was a Tea Party themed line. There were two versions of these dolls, one which came with a plastic tea set for you, and one that came without. Interestingly, Odette is wearing a short dress here, and it sort of looks like a version of her peasant dress instead of her princess dress. In 2005, a Mini Kingdom Odette doll was released. After this point, most of Odette's dolls will make her tutu style dress into more of a ball gown style. Like, the dress is pretty much always floor length. In 2006, a Fashion Fever doll was released, and she was wearing a Barbie of Swan Lake t-shirt, and I love this little, like, self-reference. So cool. I would love to own this doll. I would love to own this doll. In 2007, two new versions of the Odette Barbie doll were released, both in what looks like the exact same dress. The only difference is one came with a second outfit and a plastic bracelet, and the other came with some sort of charm, and this was a Toys R Us exclusive. In 2008, another version of Odette Barbie was released, this time with a ring for you. And in 2009, another Odette Barbie was released, and this time she was packaged with a copy of the Barbie of Swan Lake DVD. And that was sadly the last time we got a Barbie of Swan Lake doll. I would love Mattel to revisit some of their Barbie movies and make dolls of them again. I'd love to see either a reproduction or a modern interpretation of the Barbie of Swan Lake doll. It's obviously never going to be as good as the original. It's never going to be as good as the original, but I'd be interested to see it. In around the 2010s, a new version of the Barbie of Swan Lake DVD was released, this time with new cover art, which was a lot more in keeping with the current Barbie style, and her face looked a lot younger and more youthful. In 2020, the Barbie Flight of Fashion doll was released with a brand new face mold, which has since been named the Odile face mold. This might be because the Flight of Fashion doll looks similar to, and also kind of evokes the same dark elegance of the Black Swan character from the Barbie of Swan Lake film and the Swan Lake Ballet. And there we have it, doll fans. That was my deep dive into Barbie of Swan Lake. I really enjoyed this one. I think I definitely prefer Barbie as Rapunzel. I think that's a better film personally, but you know, I still really love this film. And I can't wait to make more Barbie movie deep dives. Let me know which Barbie movie you'd like to see in this series. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're new here. Check me out on Instagram and TikTok, and consider supporting me on Patreon. And I will see you real soon, doll fans. Bye. Thank you to Siren Kelly, Nikki, Sunny, Bobby and Cheryl, Imani, Tracy, Jico, Patty Heiss, Anna, Jordan, Cynthia, Raina Ray, Petra, Desi, Michael, @dolls_on-the-go, Jasper, Lillian Lish, Michael and Russ, Amber Rodriguez, Natalie, Doreen, Lexi, Jeremy, Shannon, Angelique, Spooky Mama Baker, Vito and Logan, Sophie, Ronnie, Megan, Heights Nurse, and Linda. And thank you to all my other Patreon supporters. Your support means everything.